Hey guys, it's Shawn Hoelscher back with another video for Off the Cuff. And tonight was another episode of Survivor. I didn't make a video for last week because honestly, last week's episode kind of demoralized me. I don't understand how Michelle and. Sorry, I was sitting on a blanket. I don't know how Michelle and Nick decided it was a good idea to keep Wendell over Yule. I thought Yule was going to definitely be the more loyal person and the easier person to work with. Wendell's kind of a smug son of a bitch, to be honest with you, and I didn't really understand that. And look, I'm just a much I'm a really big fan of the old school players, and I was blown away that they all got eliminated so early from the game. That I started watching when uh, that was getting popular, and I've been a fan of the show since I was in fifth grade, and um, I really have a fondness for the early days. And I mean, those were really the people that really made the show what it is today. Um, I figured it might happen, but still, it didn't make it any easier or fun. And I always liked Yule as a winner. And I was hoping that he could at least make the merge. I was hoping one of them would at least make the merge. Um, I wasn't really surprised that Sandra raised the flag last week. Um, it's just her personality. She's never been a challenge person at all. She's never really been any kind of person except vote for whoever except me person. But it got her to win twice. But since she's officially quit, I don't know if we can really call her the queen anymore. I guess we'll just see. But I don't know. I guess last week's kind of bummer of an episode for me personally was made up for this week. So the tribes merged, everybody's together. There was a challenge this week between the Edge of Extinction people, and Tyson won his way back into the game. And now Rob and Amber and Natalie Anderson and Ethan and Yule and Danny and Parvati are all going to the jury. And they're sitting in on the tribal councils unless one of them raises the flag. So they get to do that. And much like Edge of Extinction, it's just everybody gets to be a jury member. It's pretty crazy. It's a big cast. It's a big jury. It's pretty wild. But Tyson won his way back into the game, and thankfully he wasn't on the chopping block at all tonight. It was a pretty fast moving hour. Everybody's playing the game. Everybody's kind of scrambling. Everyone's trying to figure out who they can trust. Everybody was at the merge feast. Everybody was pretty impressed by Denise's move to get that got Sandra out of the game. So some people were weary of Denise. Not a lot of people thought that they could trust Adam, so Adam was talked to a lot. Everybody can see how tight Wendell and Nick were. Jeremy in particular wanted to exploit that a little bit. But something was happening tonight that I thought should have happened a lot sooner in the game, and it's finally happening. The threats are coming together, and they're targeting the kind of what they call the sleeper players. Tony has made a reputation for himself because of the way he played the first time, and this is his third time playing. It's Jeremy's third time playing. And kind of the bigger threats are kind of coming together. Since Tyson is back from Edge of Extinction, he's kind of in with Jeremy and Tony, and they're kind of getting as many of the threats together as they can to kind of vote off people like Adam and vote off people like Nick, and the kind of the one-timers who the people that you're expecting to just kind of slip through the cracks and make it as far as possible. Those are the people that they're targeting. And I've always wanted something like this to happen on an All-Stars season because, like I said in a previous video, this happens all the time. You get a handful of threats and exciting players, and then the rest of the cast is just nobodies. And the threats either target each other, and that opens the door for the nobodies, and that's why more often than not, there's been kind of a lackluster winner with these kind of, these all-star seasons. And finally, the threats are coming together, and they're going to take out kind of the sleeper people. It's something that I've always, like I said, it's something that I've always wanted to see on a Survivor all-star season, and it seems like they're finally starting to do it. And of course, it's happening on an all-winter season. And so it got rainy, and it got cold, and they did the challenge where it's they stand on the pole. It's a Survivor favorite. You've probably seen this if you've watched the show for years, but there's a pole and they stand on it, and there's little edges for your feet. And it's been rainy and cold, so I can only imagine just how extra tough this challenge was, in particular this year, because it's raining, so you're already sliding off the pole. It's cold, like just having your hands out exposed, holding on was probably just bleh, terrible. And like I said, you just have so much room to put your toes. There was a point where they kept focusing on Jeremy's toe, and he just had his big toe in this crack, and just your big toe just stretching and putting so much pressure on your toe. Like, it was making me cringe. I can't. He is a much better man than I'll ever be because I couldn't do that. I could not do that. This was a challenge where a man and a woman both won individual immunity, and they all got a fire token. Jeremy won for the men, and Denise won for the women. And that's not very surprising. Jeremy and Denise were looking pretty strong all challenge long. So it really wasn't that surprising to me that they both won for their sexes. So they get back to camp, and again, still a lot of the kind of the big name threats aren't getting thrown around. Tyson and Tony and Jeremy are all sticking strong, and they're getting the women in, and it looked like it was going to be between Wendell, Nick, and Adam. Jeremy was really campaigning for Nick because Nick is Wendell's right-hand man, and Jeremy wanted to be Wendell's right-hand man. And most of the rest of the tribe wanted to get Adam out because he's a wishy-washy little squirrel. I've been saying this a while, and, obviously it's with all due respect, but Adam, out of all the guys they could have picked for this season, they landed on Adam. Adam? He was a goat that brought two other bigger goats, and that's why he won. His win was not that exciting on Millennials versus Gen X. He's the least exciting winner out there. And yes, I include Michelle on that list. Michelle's actually been fun to watch this season. I think that she's redeemed herself a little bit. But Adam is just the same old Adam. Like, I don't blame them at all for wanting him off the island. Like, he's not interesting at all. And like I said, like, out of all the guys to bring back, he takes up one of their spots. Like, I know they went after Cochran, and Cochran turned them down. And, Hatch was, I probably talked about this already. Hatch was up for a season 2, and he was originally on the cast, but then he got cut. And, that we could make an entire video about that. He's saying there's one reason why he got cut, and it had to do with the Sioux All-Stars thing right after the Dan Spillo thing last week. Other people are saying that they just, they just thought that the cast that they had would be better. So, it's one of those situations where people are saying different things. But Adam, like, Mike Holloway wasn't available. Todd Herzog wasn't available. Bob's probably too old. Uh, Chris Daughtry. I mean, if they need somebody for recency bias, like they couldn't get Tommy or Chris Underwood, the two most recent guys, to win. I don't know. Well, it's still funny because Adam ended up not going home again this week. It wasn't Adam. It was. It's surprisingly enough, it ended up being Wendell, and that's why I was extra happy because, like I said, Wendell's a smug son of a bitch. And it was good to watch that smug face of his get wiped off of his face. That was a little bit satisfying to watch. It looked like Jeremy did vote for Wendell, even though he wanted to work with Wendell. And I think at that tribal, right before tribal, they always do all that talking. I think Jeremy saw that Wendell would be a liability. Jeremy, he's good at reading people. He's a really smart guy, I think. And I think that he read that situation and he decided to go with the rest of the herd. All the women except Michelle voted Wendell, which is not surprising, and then everybody else ended up throwing votes at Wendell besides Michelle and Nick. So Michelle and Nick are on the outs, and we'll see what happens with that next week. And so it was a satisfying episode. It was funny seeing Yule say wow after Wendell got taken out, since he was gone last week and Wendell orchestrated that. So I'd say overall it was it was a satisfying episode, and I think kind of after the sort of predictable pre-merge, we might actually get a really exciting merge, and I think maybe this season will redeem itself a little bit. That's what I hope for, at least. With everything going on with the coronavirus, I hope everyone's staying safe and sane out there. And these are my thoughts on tonight's episode of Survivor. And a quick reshoot of last week. All right, take care.